Good morning, everybody. We're back again talking cruising, and this morning I'm quite excited in that we're going to do something a little bit different. I've got Andy McGowan, who is with Hurtigruten Cruise Line. He's based in the UK, and Andy's going to join us today, and we're going to chat a little bit about Hurtigruten. We're going to chat a little bit about the COVID protocols on the ships. And then I think just to unpack one of the routings that we're quite excited about and selling at the moment is the routing out of Dover, which is out of the UK, and doing sort of the Scandinavian countries around the UK, and then coming back to Dover. So, looking forward. Andy, thanks for joining us and welcome. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi, good morning. Good. It's great to be here. Thank you.
I saw a clip on Facebook this morning that spring has sprung in your part of the world in the UK. So hopefully the weather's getting better, even though you lost the rugby on the weekend, but we'll forgive you for that.
Okay. How many things are you going to hit me with? You've got a better climate, you've got a better rugby team. Yeah. No, the weather's good. The climate, thankfully, it's spring-like and positively warm for the time of year. So that's quite nice. Yeah.
Well, that bodes well for the cruise season.
Encourages people to book holidays.
There we go. So I think that bodes well for the cruise season. So I think without any further ado, let's chat Hurtigruten. I think it's a brand that in South Africa, I suppose a lot of cruisers know, but a fair amount of other people would not have heard of the brand. So maybe you can just give me a brief outline of the cruise line and what it does and just a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course, happy to. Yeah, I mean Hurtigruten. It's a very Norwegian name, and we go back really to its origins over about 130 years ago, where Hurtigruten started as, some might remember the name Norwegian Coastal Voyages, actually. And a big part of the business that we do now, a large part of the business, is still incredible coastal voyages, up from Oslo and Bergen and all the way around into the Arctic Circle. Excuse me. We have around 5 ships that do that. Incredible experiences. And they were originally funded by the Norwegian government to really, particularly in the winter, keep that incredible coast of Norway all the way up to the north open. And actually, there are multiple ports. And we still have a contract with the government to do that kind of service where you can take cars and we carry a little bit of freight. But actually, that's a completely sort of minor part of what we do now. It's so that the coastal voyages are really, quite spectacular, as you would imagine. Some are 7 days and some are 14 days, right the way up into the Arctic Circle, and just spectacular, particularly in the summer when we do an awful lot of business. So we operate that year round, but latterly Hurtigruten is very much developing, and we have an incredible product on what we call the expedition side. Now that's an up-and-coming word within the sort of cruise and travel industry, I think, expedition. Yeah. And it's incredible. I mean, it really means sort of what it is. It's off the beaten track. It's visiting incredible ports. I mean, this is globally. We have products. Our flagship expedition product is down to Antarctica in the winter, where we have 2 hybrid ships. This is the other thing about, we're very sustainable, we're very green, have a huge amount of respect and interaction with the destinations that we go to, as you would expect. I mean, It's in our interests commercially, but it's also entirely appropriate. So we have Antarctica, we have Alaska, we have Northwest Passage, Spitsbergen. We've latterly, just in the last year, introduced a completely new product down to the Galapagos and sort of West Africa and Canary Islands cruises down the west side of Senegal. So it's and specifically, we've now committed to get to the point about cruising out of Dover. We have a ship called the MS Maud, which is round trip, year round, out of Dover back to Dover, doing incredible itineraries up to the Norway, the North Cape, round Britain, up to Iceland, and for guests in the UK specifically, it means no flying, of course. So it means you get yourself to Dover and you do this incredible itinerary that's can be between 7, 10, and 14. Some of them are 16 days. Sorry, that's a very brief overview. There's a lot to say. I don't mean to hold the conversation, but effectively, there's two. There's Norwegian coastal services, which are incredible, and then our expedition brand.
Yeah, so certainly we've seen a huge growth in the expedition cruising, and I think the exciting thing, Andy, as we know with your product, is also there are a number of the excursions that your day excursions that are offered that are really, really different from whether it be walking with the penguins, the polar bears, and all that type of thing. And I think probably a good time to touch a little bit on COVID restrictions. But I think what we've seen from a cruising point of view is that people are looking for a longer cruise now. They're looking for smaller ships, which is obviously what the Hurtigruten product is about, which is ideal. But also I think it's that sort of all-inclusive type concept, a smaller ship, and trying to pack as much in, because I think people have gone back to or are in that situation where they're looking at sort of green cruises and want to get back to nature. So ideal. And tell us just quickly from a COVID point of view, what are the regulations on the ship? Pretty relaxed now with things having changed?
Well, they are relaxed because fortunately, albeit different countries are at different stages, the world is going that way, and I think people want it. But just to tap on a couple of points that you talked about, small ships, Sean. And that's actually very relevant to the COVID thing as well. That really helps us. We've been on and off operating throughout, not full services, but we've pretty much been operating out. And one of the positioners that we have, if you bear with me on this at Hurtigruten, is that we're not the big white ships that carry 2, 3, 4. Some of the, I think one of the new ones is 5,000, 6,000 passengers, and there's a place for that. Don't get me wrong; they're incredible products, but very difficult, managing people when you get up to. It's like a resort, isn't it? If a resort has thousands and thousands of people, as opposed to a beautiful boutique report like you might see in Mauritius or the Caribbean. But anyway, to get to the point, Maud in particular out of Dover as a great example. We only carry just under 500 passengers. That's the capacity of the ship when it's full. So from a COVID point of view, we were still operating Maud. We reduced the capacity of passengers that we carried. We chose to operate, but carry only a couple of hundred passengers, so that there was plenty of social distancing on the ship. There was even gaps between the staterooms and the accommodation on board, and all the protocols that you would expect, of sanitization and wearing masks and testing before you arrived and whilst you got on board was in place. And I have to say, it worked. And the one thing, just as a plug for the cruise industry in general, the health protocols and the safety protocols are pretty good anyway, and always have been. So but the small ship thing really, really does help just in general. And then of course it's a great experience on board for the guests as well. With service levels.
Actually, an interesting question. Chatting to somebody the other day about the Hurtigruten product, and one of the things they said is from a ship point of view, what's new? Are there new ships out there? And that was something that I was really pleased to say that, I know the company's been around for 130 years, but the ships are not 130 years old. There are, as you say, a number of new hybrid ships that are out there, and it's quite an impressive product from a cruising point of view.
Yeah, on the expedition side in particular, we have 2 or 3 hybrid ships now, which are a combination of diesel electric, and we're as state of the art, if you like, and as green as the technology currently allows. We have 3. I think we have between 3 and 5 of these new hybrid type ships, these diesel electric ships that are coming over the next 7 to 8 years. So that is without question the way to go. I think the industry is making great strides in that area in general. But I mean, what that means in very simple terms is that in open waters we can use the diesel engines to get us somewhere quite quickly. But when we get into these incredible destinations like the Arctic, for example, and the Antarctic, and some of these beautiful Galapagos, for example, we're able to switch off those engines, cruise silently on electric power, and really get up close. So, I mean, it's the future in general. But I mean, that's very much. I mean, our whole ethos is, as a company, and very much with the Norwegian influence, is about sustainability, green. No plastics on board, for example, and just being in it. It's entirely appropriate if you think about it when we're looking at these incredible destinations and wildlife, and
exactly.
taking zodiacs out to glaciers to mix with penguins, and we even have stories of our guests doing beach cleanups and stuff while they're visiting particular sites. So it's very important to us, and it's the future of the industry in general. But I think we lead the way with it, actually, and it's right that we should.
Perfect. So I think just before we run out of time, one of the other things that I'd like to just cover quickly with you is the inclusivity of cruising and cruising with Hurtigruten. I think it's a big factor. People want to sort of get onto a ship or go to whether it be a resort or whatever. We're finding and pay sort of, they know one amount and know what's included. So what especially on your expedition cruises with regard to inclusions, what is included?
Yes. Well, it's a great question, and I think that we people often say to me, "Oh, your cruises, your expedition voyages, they're not cheap." And I like to say, well, that's actually a good sign if you think about it, because it means that you get what you pay for. But to be specific, I mean, I think inclusive. In my sort of history in the industry, I've worked for a couple of inclusive brands, and I do think. Certainly in Hurtigruten's case, it really works and lends itself to the product, because effectively, as you would expect, all of your meals and beverages and are included. Very high quality as well. I mean, that's another thing. We don't position ourselves as a luxury brand, but incredibly good food. I mean, a lot of it locally sourced, some great seafood, some great, those Norwegian breads and cheeses. And it's not Norwegian food, it's international food, but it has that Norwegian touch and very high quality. But drinks package as well, wine and beer is included, gratuities, you're not expected to tip anybody. And really importantly for expedition cruising is, and on moored out of Dover as well, a huge number of excursions are included as well. So, really, I always say to people, if you don't smoke and you don't want to go shopping, you don't actually have to spend any money once you get on board. I mean, you can clearly.
And I think that's the thing. Us South Africans, our rand doesn't go very far. So something like that, where you can get on the ship and as much as possible is included. And especially if you're doing the expedition cruises, I think it's nice to be able to be in that area and be able to really partake in everything and enjoy it as much as you can.
Well, I think from a South African point of view, I mean, I don't think you're any different to anybody else. So people expect quite rightly value for money. But I mean, from a South African point of view, to fly all that way to come, you've got to fly a long way to get anywhere, and know that when you get to the other end and you walk up that gangway, the food's going to be great. It's going to be very inclusive. It's going to be safe. It's going to be environmentally friendly, and you're going to see some great destinations. That's the other. The itineraries the other thing about smaller ships is very quickly, we get into ports that quite simply, we go to ports that are relevant to the itineraries and very expeditionary anyway, but we get into ports that quite simply bigger ships can't.
I think that's a huge factor. You do get to really feel, if I can put it, the non-touristy thing. You get to actually see what Norway and the UK and that kind of thing is about. Andy, I think we're about out of time. I want to just thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm sure we're going to have you again at some stage. I think we'll go a little bit more into the expedition cruises. There is going to be a short video clip just now, just to show what the hybrid ships look like and a little bit about Hurtigruten.
Great.
But Andy, we look forward to chatting again and have an awesome day. We'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure. Great. Thanks for having me.
Take care.